Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. And a big shout out and a thank you to Tinashe for a fantastic vlog last week as part of our Voices of Ardash monthly series. She really brought home for me some of the work that we're doing on poverty proofing, tackling poverty, both in our organisation, particularly in our communities. And of course, she also talked about the impact and the importance of the Reach network. Our newest staff networks, the Carers Network, gets started in February. Details on the screen now are how you can join in with that, which is during our February learning half day. So I'd really encourage you to do that. We've got so much more work to do as part of our Promise to commitment, but we're starting with what it's like to be a carer inside our organisation and how, as an institution, we can both learn from you and provide the right kind of support and infrastructure for you to be able to thrive. I spent quite a lot of this week thinking and talking, listening to people discussing leadership in our organisation. And we know that leadership can make a significant difference both to how we feel at work and to the performance of an organisation, to the outcomes we achieve for our patients, and for the way in which we deliver our commitments to our communities. During the next few months, our first line managers training program will get started. And what that means is that people stepping into their initial line management responsibilities, maybe grown up in the organisation and someone's seen a spark and a talent in you, will go through a dedicated and a thought through program of support that gives you a chance both to meet with new peers and to learn a little about some of the responsibilities and the skills that are needed. Similarly, we're getting going now with our senior clinicians leadership program. That's people who have big clinical roles, but are in positions not of formal accountability, but very considerable influence. And there's a set of skills both inside our organisation and, of course, in the wider system that we want to make sure we build on. So look out for details of that coming soon. And of course, as I've spoken about here before, our top leaders cadre, 150 people across our corporate and clinical teams, are going through now our leadership development offer, our LDO, with the Virginia Mason Institute, with Makito, New Local, and with PSC, all highly reputable national or international experts. We made a start with that program this week for our first cohort. I'm part of that. Other exec colleagues are part of that program, as are service managers, matrons, medical leads, chief AHP, and many others. We had community leaders with us as well, because we've reserved 10% of the places in that program for people drawn from our local community. And that will take place all the way through the next 18 months as we try and develop our skills and particularly perhaps develop a shared language in our organisation about the kind of leadership that we want to do more of and elements of leadership that we need to challenge. I must say, as one of 75 people who were in that program, I did find it an inspiring experience to listen to people's stories and motivations and to have a chance to reflect on how we build techniques like coaching more into the way in which we work. Of course, among the leaders in that LVO was our colleague Dermot Sinclair, delighted to confirm that after a long search and much discussion, Dermot has chosen and been chosen to be our new Chief Medical Officer in succession to Graham Tosh. Dermot's been acting up in elements of that role over the last few months, as you may know, but confirming that he, for the year ahead and the year after that, will be our Chief Medical Officer. So well done, Dermot, on your success, and fantastic to have that organisational continuity and memory around the board table alongside your clinical leadership. Now, part of leadership, of course, a really important part of leadership, and one that we can sometimes trade away in the busyness of working lives, is to go and look and see, and not to become if you like, too hard-hearted or in a phrase, willfully blind to the harms and difficulties that might be around us, either experienced by colleagues or perhaps in particular experienced by patients in a complex system with all the pressures that we know. Last evening, I read the Royal College of Nursing report into the care of patients in acute hospitals, looked after in corridors with dedicated staff doing their level best to care in extraordinarily difficult circumstances. Healthcare can create that sense of moral injury. It often can create systems that have the potential to cause harm or do cause harm. And sometimes, perhaps particularly in a post-pandemic space, we can begin to normalize or at least get used to those ways of working. There will be equivalents of that in plain sight harm inside our organization. I know there will, which is why we work so hard to tackle delays and difficulties within our health-based places of safety. But you will see things that my colleagues and I do not see, and you will experience potentially, sadly, the kind of moral injury that the College of Nursing, I think, has brought into the fore. So I wanted to end my film just by reflecting that, and I guess by inviting people to find the space and the will to speak up on those matters, to come talk, not to assume somebody has seen, but also not to assume that nobody is listening. As a board team, we're certainly committed to seeking to act, even in instances like neurodiversity rates, where perhaps other institutions have it as bad as us, and there is a risk that we have made something unacceptable into something that is the routine round here. So thank you for listening. If you've been part of that leadership program or you're joining one of the other two leadership programs that I mentioned, thank you again for the work that you do.